Hey it's your boy Tris. Normally you can find me on Not Your Normal Discussion, but today we're on at Tris the Fate. And we're gonna be talking about this latest season finale. Stranger Things season 4. But let's just vibe up for a second now. As we get to reckon out all the shit we're gonna talk about. But that was one hell of a season closer. There's a lot to like, some things to be like, oh. But overall, I really fucked with the story of, season 4. Like, I didn't know there was going to be a season 5 originally before I started making this. Oh, and by the way, before we get into it, happy 4th of July weekend, y'all. Even though, if you are celebrating this holiday for the original context of independence in light of everything that's happening recently in American history, um, and you don't have nobody in the military in your family, or you aren't blasting Hamilton and Liberty's Kids right now, what are you doing? This is a time for barbecue and gathering, and that's it. Because we're not honoring our freedoms or pact to that. But anyway, moving on. Happy 4th of July weekend. And speaking of independence, when will Hawkins be free of the influence of Vecna? Because my nigga is powerful. He is strong. He is playing okay. Like, you saw him in the fire when they was throwing the Molotovs at him and he was just glaring them down like, bitch, and what? And they was hitting him with a shotgun blast, went out the window, and Nancy. Listen, I love Nancy, but if there's anyone who on their fucking Thanos and Thor shit should have gone for the head the entire time they are pumping into his body, Nancy. The guilt she is going to carry. I hope Nancy gets in season 5 what Max gets in season 4, in the sense of just like MVP award for being the one who blasts this motherfucker in the head just when it looks like dire for the final confrontation that we know is coming between either El and Vecna or El and like the fully realized Mind Flayer. So yeah, I like I said, MVP for this season absolutely is Max. Like, no powers and is out here just listen. If ever there was a kid who the trauma has forged into a warrior, like, it is Max. But if there's anything that I like about season 4, is that we see so many kids, so many characters in the show finally mature up to be the warriors they need to be to take on the colossal danger that is ever present in their lives as long as the Upside Down is connected to our world, which we see by the end of the season. By the way, this is a spoiler talk. Just to mention, in case anyone tuned in and was like, "Ah, bitch, I ain't seen that shit yet." And listen, I get it. It's a weekend. I'm about to go out and shop so I can make food for the mutual aid tabling that I do on Sundays at Town Square Park. So I get it. But listen, I was going to originally make this like right after I stayed up all night to watch fucking 4 hours of the final finale of season 4, and I was tired after that shit. So that shit didn't get made yesterday. So you had a whole extra day. But I get it. I get it. There's shows I have not watched. Like, I've watched Multiverse of Madness, and I wanted to talk about the crossover between that and potentially Everything Everywhere All at Once and Loki and Special Secret. That's why I call this channel A Tryst of Fate. Because not only do we talk about our fate in the dire times we live in on the political side, but on the more fun, story analysis and like geek culture side, we just talk about like, yo, imagine if two story universes were able to meet. Like, like I said, everything with the ones I just mentioned. But we'll get back to that more so in the end of this video. But yeah, Max is the MVP. Talk about no powers, dealing with mad grief. I felt that where, you know, as much as she was trying to bait Vecna, there was also that reality, that guilt of like, listen, both survivor's guilt and just also kind of just feeling like that weird mix and balance of like, listen, now that this motherfucker is dead, like, yeah, I'm I feel safe and I feel relieved that I don't have to put up with their bullshit anymore. But, you know, am I supposed to feel this way about my brother or someone I care about dying? Or someone that I'm supposed to care about dying? And, like, it felt like I feel like we resolved all of the mixed emotions of Max, like, trying to have some kind of true love for Billy and everything that they meant to them, but at the same time acknowledging that what they meant to them was terrorizing and like fucking invalidating for so long, and you know, just being honest with Vecna at the end of the day about like that's why they felt that they needed to not be here anymore and they were willing to die, even though in finally being in that confrontation with Vecna, they discovered truly that they want to live. And like, amazing character growth, amazing emotion out of the character. I don't listen. There are some review channels that know all these characters' names, like the people who act. I will look it up in the future, but since I'm just doing this off the top of the head, that's we're not having that this channel. This episode. I know Millie Bobby Brown. I know Noah Shep's name. I know Winona Ryder's name. Those are the names I know of the people who play these characters. So we're gonna be calling these people by the character names. All right, but Max is definitely MVP this season, and it was crazy. Like when it first looked like Lucas was really like, "Bitch, what's wrong with you? You're fucking sick." Listen, I felt for Max too in that moment because like I was thinking, "Damn, Lucas, that's some fucked up shit to say, even if you're thinking it." Like, because it could be a lot to hear. It could be like, listen, if you ever listen to someone talk about the traumatic history of them and their family members, some of the shit they can say can initially sound like, bitch. But at the same time, unless you're going through it, you don't really get it of like that mix of emotions and that like how those violations could twist you. But that was a crazy way for that twist that revealed that it was really Vecna and that Vecna basically had found Max. And I feel like when Max was starting to get folded up like fucking a folding chair, like origami in this bitch, like, I, oh my god, like to jump around a little bit, like we all knew either Steve was gonna die or because he kept so many characters kept talking. Like I feel like they're purposely trying to misdirect us with how many characters were starting to talk about the romantic and life futures that they wanted with their partners, like between Steve, Hopper, and fucking everybody else. But we knew it was either gonna be Eddie because they were the new one, and like we already have enough people, so like ain't everybody making out on this trip, or motherfucking Steve because is this nigga not gonna go through Green Green at some point, or they're not gonna go through Substance? But I fucking love that. Oh, I don't love that he went out because I was clearly in my mind thinking, Eddie, if you don't hurry your ass up that fucking thing and y'all just put some shit down to fucking cover it, like the like flip the bed over, flip off the mattress on the other side of where you're at, and just burn that bitch so them shits can't like don't put me in a horror movie situations because one, I don't want to be in it, but two, I'm gonna be like, all right, let's think. But it was for the growth of Dusty and the payoff of a lovely, like I love that character who plays Eddie, like great guy, and I that the conversation Dustin has with Eddie's old man about, yes, the whole town probably still hates this motherfucker and probably even thinks that they're the reason for all this. But like, know that you're not the only one who saw really the heart and soul of this person. Knows that they would never do no shit like this, and that they went out. Look at you. They went out fighting. They went out in a way that would have made you proud. Like that old man, he can fucking leave this town behind, and know that even if like them motherfuckers don't fuck with him or his son, at the very least, there's someone out there who does. And for all the shit, not to say characters should be able to hold on to their innocence, but these niggas are in a war. And for all the shit that they done been through, Dustin has been the one to most hold on to his, like, little nerdy innocence and just be like nerdy tech support. Be the one who's thinking outside of the box enough to give them a way to conceptualize all the crazy shit they're dealing with. But I feel like coming back for Eddie, getting him and Eddie dying in his arms, really finally grew up Dustin as a man. Because if there was something that was annoying about season 3, yes, I loved the Dustin and Steve bromance and relationship, but Dustin definitely felt much younger than all the rest of his, like, fucking teammates in this bitch. And finally, he seems to have fully been hit with the full gravity of what they're dealing with. But, so, even though I hate that for Eddie, I love that for Dustin. Um, Nancy, she was pretty cool, especially in the first part of the season. But, like I said, you gotta aim for the head. I hope she realizes that in season 5. But it was cool watching her and go after. I was gonna say the thing about the Max sacrifice, which, I hate that for Max. Like, amazing character, like, amazing what they did with that character, but still, the can't see and can't feel anything. They're just in the void, and then not even, because fucking Eleven's trying to search for them, and we can't find her. Like, the only great thing about that, story wise, is for the longest time, I've been annoyed with everything that's going on, how much Lucas and fucking Erica fucking bicker with each other. Because, I mean, yes, it's true to life that, like, listen, sometimes your little siblings, just bicker back and forth. But you would think, after multiple times that these individuals have been involved in, like, fucking from battling the Mind Flare to everything else that's been going on, you would think there'd be more camaraderie between them. And finally, now that Lucas has been shaped and molded by getting brutalized by Jason and witnessing Max die in his arms and then fucking kind of be gone in his arms in another sense, and him maturing and basically, like, he was there amazingly for Max throughout this season, but he's gonna be shaped as a whole different fucking person through all this experience. And I think Erica's relationship to Lucas will finally be shaped in a different way, and they'll finally be able to be brother and sister without the constant back and forth bickering. Um, Love that Hopper and fucking Joyce finally got their kiss. Although I could have used more Murray in the fucking final. I mean, they didn't need it, but I love Murray, and there wasn't enough of him in the final season. But speaking of someone who's not getting what they want at all ever, is our favorite third wheel Will, who they have crying in every other scene, damn near. But I love at the end that, one, I love that there's so much, like, of course, it's the 80s. They don't have a lot of language for, a lot of language that isn't slurs for, like, Will's going through, especially in a small town like Hawkins back in then. But I'm glad that there are people who are recognizing. I'm glad that Will is trying to find ways to express himself. And I also do love that we don't finally we it's not just Sad Boy Third Wheel anymore by the end of season 5 or season 4, that like they're going to be able to fully express themselves and everything like that. And that they have an additional thing to their storyline of that Mind Flare connection. And to me, in season 5, I can see one or two things. Either Vecna will be, because Vecna's body looks like that, like they stay in the mind realm because that body would be one of constant pain if the nerve endings aren't just like gone. So, I mean, with skin the way it is, maybe those nerve endings and all that shit is gone. So, like, there is no feeling in the same way Max now has no feeling. Maybe Will, with that Mind Flare connection, will either be someone that Vecna will try to reinfect so that a new lease on, like, life. Although, Vecna seems like an eternal being where they're at currently, so maybe they wouldn't even want that shit to do some, like, Chucky body swap shit. But, or body takeover, body possession thing. But either that or Will, having spent season 1 running around and upside down, out of sight of like the Demogorgon, maybe a similar thing is happening to Max inside of, because their blindness looks similar to like the state that people's eyes go into when they're put under Vecna's trance. So maybe that they're just caught in between. So that's why Eleven can't find her in the void. But maybe in the same way that Will was able to encourage Mike to express that he loves Eleven and be there for fucking her in time of need to bring her to her full level of power, which is not powerful enough yet to truly take out Vecna. I thought things would be done in season 4, but I can see why they need season 5, because if they were able to beat him already, I'd be like, how? But yeah, maybe if Will and Lucas get closer and they develop an even deeper relationship, because I've noticed in that painting they didn't unfurl it all the way, and maybe Lucas, his black ass is on that horse, but I saw a lot of white people in that painting that he was showing to Mike. It's like, where's the, where's the chocolate? Where's is he on the horse? Because we can't see who's on that horse. I would assume, but like, where's the chocolate? But maybe like they'll show like he'll unfurl the rest of the painting for fucking Lucas and be like, "That's you. You're like the standard bearer, the flag raiser, the one that keeps us cool through it all." Oh no, he doesn't do that. But they're gonna come up with some nice shit. How they gonna paint that shit and inspire between Lucas, Will, and what you call it, 11. They'll come together and be the ones that basically help bring Max's consciousness back and maybe raise her out of that coma. And speaking of like empowering people, because I feel like that's gonna be 11's final level of training, because yes, 11 got strong, got her powers back, and she was making the fucking loop-de-loops for the helicopter. She raised up the Nina tank. But at the end of the day, like, Vecna is able to just walk into people's minds and devastate them. And Elle was able to find them eventually, but she's not on the level of Vecna with being able to manipulate minds and like go through that mind realm level of shit. And that's the final step we need for them to fully vanquish Vecna all the way and to put an end to the army of monsters that is coming. So if there's anything that's going to give her that training and that level of experience, especially now that Dr. Brenner is likely dead, which I love the coldness with the goodbye papa, like talking about, you're my family, I did all this for you. 11 kind of exposed that yes, you did a lot for me, but we were all You're all things that you were proud of as an extension of yourself, an extension of you searching for the next level of human evolution, and you were using me to find Henry. Like, me opening doors for Henry is in large part because of the way you were manipulating me. So, if any of this is my fault, it's really because of you. So, like, motherfucking. If Dr. Brenner is still alive and Sullivan's picked him up, maybe we'll get a kidnap of fucking 11 and another training arc. But I think the key censure is going to be in the same way that Elle was able to restart Max's heart after she technically died, and we got her final sacrifice for opening the gates. And speaking of Max, mad respect to even Vecna recognizing, like, he's like, listen, you're weak, fragile like the rest of them, but you basically giving props to her will. Like, no powers, no nothing. Like, you giving me a run for my money. Like, you have heart. Basically, you know when the villain is like beating a character's ass and they're just like, yo, you keep getting back the fuck up. I respect that, even though I'm gonna put you down now. Like, but maybe Elle being able to recollect motherfucking Elle's mind is gonna be that difference maker. But oh, Elle recollecting Max's mind. But yeah, we got monsters coming. I'm sure Sullivan is gonna have his troops doing dumb shit, and it's gonna end up badly for them. But if there's anything I can't wait to see, it's what that final confrontation is gonna look like. Especially now that so many of these characters are finally ready for what needs to be done. They're finally mature enough to like conceptualize what they need to do. And speaking of the crossover effect that I like to think about, I mean, this final season, it looks like when you Google it, takes place in 1986, right? Well, guess what else deals with doors opening to other dimensions and godlike characters coming out and, you know, characters needing to mature and change to deal with it? Motherfucking the first Ghostbusters with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. That takes place in 1984. And imagine the crossover of Ghostbusters. Listen, I don't. Outside of the scene talking about all the shit Vigo Morris, the fucking Vigo, his character, Vigo the Impaler, whatever his character's name is, talking all the shit that he survived, he was impaled, he was beheaded, all this, and still damn near impossible to kill. Besides that, one part of Ghostbusters 2, we don't recognize Ghostbusters 2. And it's goo and Statue of Liberty moving and fuck all that. But Ghostbusters 1 is ultimate, is classic. And how great would it be from them season 1 dressing up as Ghostbusters to on some parallel dimension type shit? You get some Ghostbusters with some proton packs, or the government building some proton packs, somebody coming up with some shit that can more, because fire might hurt everything else in the Upside Down, but Vecna was eating that shit. Just like, I don't even feel this shit. I am flesh and bones and vines and muscle. Is it? I don't. What, bitch? Like, so they gonna need something a little stronger than fire. They gonna need 11 actually learning how to mind walk and mind crush. Like, it's great to lift shit and crush shit,